Question 1. We're told that Deirdre has an annual salary of €47,500. She has a tax credit of €3,600 and the standard rate cut-off of €32,000. If the standard rate is 20% and the higher rate is 46%, find how much income tax she pays for the year. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down the key information. So Tuarastal, her salary, €47,500. We're at a Credbas Connacht, there's a tax credit, €3,600. Scufuinte, the standard rate cut-off is €32,000. Standard rate of tax is 20%, and the higher rate, Rada Ord, is 46%. They're asking us to find the total amount of tax that she pays. So we know first of all that the salary is broken up into two different amounts. So we have our Scufuinte, 32,000, which we calculate 20% of for that tax, and then the amount between 32,000 and 47,500. So we have to subtract those two values to get the Maid Brescia. So when we subtract them, we get 15,500. So this is what we calculate 46% of. So we find 20% of 32,000, we find is €6,400. 46% of 15,500 is 7,130. So this is our tax at 20% on our Scufuinte, the point up to our cut-off point. Then we have 46%, we find 46% of the extra amount, the amount above the Scufuinte. So we add the two of these values together to find an Cóvlán. So we find that this is 13,530. So the next step is to look at the Credbas Connacht. So we're told our tax credit is 3,600. So we're subtracting this from a Cóvlán. So when we subtract our tax credit, we get €9,930. So that's how much tax she will pay. On to question 2. So in this question we're told that a person invested 16,000 for 2 years. The interest for the first year was 7%. At the end of the second year the investment amounted to €18,061.60. We need to find the rate of interest for the second year. So we're going to put a structure to this again by identifying the information that we're given. So we're told the original amount that was invested, so P1 for the first year, is 16,000. We're told the rate for the first year is 7%. We're not told what they end up with at the end of the first year, which is also the same amount really as the start of the second year. So we'll make that P2. We're not told the rate for the second year, but we are told the final amount at the end of the second year. So what we're looking for really is the rate of the second year. Now we have a few other blanks, but that's our final kind of thing that we're looking for. So in order to find the rate of the second year, I need to know what I invested at the start of that year. So to do this, I add on 7% to 16,000. So 16,000 multiplied by 7%, this is going to give me €1,120. So if I add that on, I get €17,120. Now what I could have done, I could have just found 107% of €16,000 either way I'll get the same result. So I can find 7 and add it on, or I can find 107%. So then the final amount that I have at the end of year 1 is €17,120. So this is also the same amount of money that's going in at the start of the second year. So now I know what I had at the start and what I had at the end of the year, so we can use these two values to calculate the amount of interest that I earned. So 18,061.60 minus 17,120 is going to give me my interest for that second year. When I subtract those two values, we get 941.60. So now that I have the amount of interest, I need to change this into a percentage. So if we just look at year 1 for a second, I calculated 7% of my principal amount for that year to find the interest. So if we look at year 2, I would have used my 17,120 to calculate my interest for year 2. So in order to calculate the rate, I need to put the interest over the principal amount multiplied by 100 over 1 to find our percentage. So we have 941.60. So I use €17,120 multiplied by 100 over 1 is going to give me 5.5%. So one of the common mistakes was to put the interest over what we had at the end of the second year. But we use 17,120 to find the interest, so that's the value that we need to put the interest over to find the rate. So 5.5% is our final answer for that question. In question 3, we're told that the difference between 1/6 of a number and 1/7 of the number is 5. What is the number? So anytime we have the word difference, we're subtracting the values. So the difference between these two fractions is equal to 5. So I'm going to subtract the two fractions. When I do, I get 1 over 42. So 1/42 of a number is equal to 5. That means to find the whole number, I need to find 42 over 42. So this is going to be 5 multiplied by 42, which is going to give me 210. So the difference between two fractions is 5. We have to find the whole number. So find the fraction first, 1 over 42, multiply it by 42 to find the whole number. Question 4 was a little bit tricky because it didn't give you any values to work with. So the tip that I included on the paper was to make up your own value for the lawnmower. So we're told that Bill buys a new lawnmower. The value of the lawnmower depreciates by 20% each year. Bill says that after 5 years the lawnmower will have no value, but he is wrong. We need to explain why. So what I recommend with these types of questions is to use figures, even invent your own figures to help you to show why he's incorrect. But don't forget that really, at the end, you're told that you need to explain why. So a sentence or two, just kind of backing up the maths that you've used, is essential for these types of questions. Okay, so we're saying it depreciates by 20%. And our time is equal to 5 years. So again, I'm just going to identify the key information before we get started. Okay, so I'm going to say that the lawnmower costs €1,000. And I want to show that after 5 years, the value is not equal to 0. So a couple of ways of doing this. The first thing that we can do is start off with the principal for year 1 being €1,000 minus our 20%. So when we do that, we're going to get €800. So then take the second year, we have €800 minus 20%, and so on, until we get to year 5 and show that the value that we get is equal to 0. The easier way to do it is to use the formula that we're given for depreciation, so it's similar to that which we're given for an increasing amount. So we're told that the final amount is equal to the principal amount, 1 minus the rate to the power of t. So in this case, we're looking for the final amount. When p is 1,000, we have 1 minus, so I is our rate but as a decimal. So if we have 20%, we're talking about 0.2. to the power of 5 because we're looking for the fine amount after 5 years. So for this we're going to get 0.8 to the power of 5. So that's 1000 multiplied by 0.32768. So we get 327.68. So if at the start he purchased a lawnmower for €1,000, after 5 years the value is going to be 327.68, which is not equal to 0. So then we have shown that he is incorrect.